What does sweet bourbon taste like besides burny alcohol? Good evening, fair people of the internet, and welcome to the multiverse of beer and music. I am your host, Dr. Tangent, and tonight we are going to be going into the darkness once again. You may recall, if you've watched this video here, that I recently did a variant of the award-winning Russian Imperial Stout from the 2SP brewery in Aston, Pennsylvania, that was called Rum Russian. 2SP has an award-winning Russian Imperial Stout that they call simply the Russian. And it has won Great American Beer Festival gold medals twice in 2017 and 2019. And each year they take a certain allotment of their award-winning Russian Imperial Stout and slap it into some barrels. In this case, they put it in Kentucky bourbon barrels for 9 months, and they come out with this, what they call Bourbon the Russian, and it is phenomenal. It is a big, burly Russian Imperial Stout, weighs in at 11.7% and 50 IBUs, so it's going to pack a bit of that good roasty bitterness that you would expect in a big Russian Imperial Stout. But what does 2SP have to say about this beer? Bourbon the Russian is a Russian Imperial Stout aged in bourbon barrels for 9 months, intensely bold with flavors of sweet bourbon, vanilla, coffee, and roasted malts. So, I have had this before. This is the 2024 release. Just came out. So let's take a look at this beauty. Gorgeous. Just gorgeous. Look at that. Thick tan head, variegated bubbles, dissipating not terribly quickly, but you can certainly see activity as it's breaking down. Already see a little bit of nice lacing around the top of the rim. That's really some nice carbonation for something that's been sitting in a bourbon barrel for 9 months. Very nice, substantial head. Now, I've been letting this warm up as is customary with big, dark beers. If you're taking them straight out of the fridge, you want to let them warm up a little bit. This is probably maybe 50 degrees or so. If you watched the last episode on, I'll put a link there, where I tried Duclaw's Sweet Baby PB&J, you saw an example of a beer that I let it warm up probably a little too much. But this is right about 50 degrees or so. Beautiful aroma. You get a lot of the bourbon. When someone says sweet bourbon, if you're not a bourbon drinker, that probably doesn't make any sense. What does sweet bourbon taste like besides burny alcohol? The sweet notes in bourbon can be baking spices, caramelized sugar, vanilla. Those types of flavors tend to come out in a sweet bourbon. And you're getting a lot of that here. You're getting bourbony booziness. You're getting vanilla. You're getting a slight floral. Maybe it's a hop character that I'm getting, is a slight floral hop character. Not getting a ton of roastiness on the nose, but I will be very surprised if it doesn't deliver that on the palate because I'm familiar with prior years of this beer, and I'm familiar with the base beer. Oh yeah. Wow, that's nice. That is subtly complex. It has a lot of roastiness in the mid palate that comes back at the end into a firm roasty bitterness. But right up front, you get that sweet vanilla bourbon flavors, a little bit of chocolate. Right in the middle there, very high up, you get creamy coffee flavor coming through that is purely driven by the malts that have been used. And then, like I mentioned at the end, you get that roasty, strong bitterness that you get from darkly roasted barley. For those of you who don't know, watch the process on how beer is made, but the primary grain that's used in beer making is malted barley, and you get from the maltster different roast levels. It's like coffee. You can get very, very lightly roasted malts. For very light colored beers, you can get some very darkly roasted malts to add in small quantities to get darker beers. And there are some very heavily roasted barleys that really impart a strong, roasty bitterness to a beer. And that's what's very, very prevalent on the finish of this beer. Outstanding example. If you like Russian Imperial Stouts at all and can find this, I highly recommend picking it up. It is just great. But what are we going to pair with this? Something bold. At 50 IBUs, doesn't necessarily follow the norm. And in that respect, they're kind of breaking the mold a little bit, challenging common perceptions. Well, we're going to embrace all of that and the color of the beer as we check out something from a band called The Darkness. No, we're not going to do their seminal hit, I Believe in a Thing Called Love. Oh no, we're going to do something off of their most recent album, their 2015 album, a song called Barbarian, which is really quite good, but you've got to hear what lead singer, frontman Justin Hawkins has to say about this song. In an interview with Billboard magazine, he said, Barbarian features not one, but two dramatic monologues, a guitar solo that has been declared irresponsible, a riff that weakens lady knees, and a chorus that makes grown men shit directly into their pants. If you don't know anything about Justin Hawkins, I highly recommend going down that rabbit hole online. He has a YouTube channel called Justin Hawkins Rides Again, where he does episodes on new music, reminiscing on tour life or band life or the industry. It's really super entertaining. He's very witty. He's funny, but he's British, so be prepared for British humor. It's a good time. Definitely check it out. There'll be a link in the description below. This song, Barbarian, is the lead single from their fourth album, Last of Our Kind, from 2015. The title, interestingly, was actually inspired by the 1980s swords and sorcery movie Hawk the Slayer. There's a character in there who's an elf who is the last of his race, and he laments upon the eve of battle that if he dies, his race dies. So that's kind of the inspiration for Last of Our Kind, the name of the album. But let's check it out.
One by one the kingdoms fall. They looked upon this isle and took it all. Harbingers of pain. Edmund the Martyr cut down by a Dane on the orders of Ivor the Boneless. Barbarian.
Well, that rocked. If you can't admit that, you got trouble. But anyway, The Darkness, great band. I completely get the over-the-top quote from Justin Hawkins regarding the song that I talked about at the beginning of the episode. He was certainly channeling a little bit of Immigrant Song by Led Zeppelin there in the chorus. Yeah, that was a lot of fun. It is actually based on true stories, though. Yes, there actually was an Ivar the Boneless. It was a story about a 9th century Viking invasion of East Anglia, the eastern part of England, where the Darkness is from. Edward the Martyr, real person, he was the king of East Anglia that the Danes put to the sword, and when he wouldn't give up his Christian faith, he became sainted because of the martyrdom and for a while was the patron saint of England. And Ivar the Boneless was a real Viking, a real person. There is a lot of speculation of how he got the nickname Ivar the Boneless. There is one camp that feels that he probably had lost a leg. The translation of the Norse word for legless is also the same word for boneless. There's also some belief that perhaps he had a skeletal condition, such as osteogenesis imperfecta, which I don't know how you're going to be a Viking with that, but you never know. And there is a passage in a tale from that time period, that 9th century time period, that suggests that he was called Ivar the Boneless because of impotence. So read that as you will, but that was a fun song. Really kicked ass. I really feel like they are a strong, straight up rock and roll band. I know a lot of people kind of pegged them as a joke band early on, especially with the massive success of their first album back in 2003. And I mean, they always inject some humor into their songs. As you saw there, the band got dismembered at the end. But the songs kick ass. That guitar kicks ass. That song rocked. And it was a lot of fun. Just like this beer, a lot of fun. It has some complexity, some layers to it, but in the end, it's raucous and kicks ass. That's the name of the game, isn't it? The best things in life involve some ass kicking in some way or another. If you like what I'm doing here, give the video a like. If you're digging the vibe, subscribe. And when you do subscribe, hit the notification bell because I'm putting out new content all the time and I would hate for you to miss any of it. But most importantly, leave me a comment. Let me know what you think. Until we meet again, my internet warriors, SKOL till Valhalla.